This is Jonathan Hickman, and you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
Crystal clear. Love it. It's like we've entered a new realm.
All modern and shit?
Yep. Thanks to Sanford.
Too bad we couldn't time this with episode 1000.
Yeah. If you want to know why this sounds better, and we hope it does, you could thank Sanford Green.
He mocked the shit out of us.
He did. He shamed us. It was like we were all at the urinal. And I'm like, whoa. I guess I got to do something.
He's like, y'all sponsored by Brill Cream and shit?
Like, you look, the three of us. The any of us need fucking broker.
Seriously.
Welcome back, Vince.
Well, thank you, Jason, because this is 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 942. Gang's all back together, and I'm Vince B.
Oh, yes. Just like Voltron, and I am David A. Price.
That's true, and I'm everyone's favorite impish thief. I'm Dororo.
Okay, but you're not. You're Jason Wood, everybody. Yes, the gang's all back together. Sponsored by CheapGraphicNovels.com. What was that? CheapGraphicNovels.com. The proof is in the pudding, and the truth is in the name. So if you want your books, your OGNs, your manga, your trade paperbacks, your artist editions, all that stuff, at cheap rock bottom prices, you just go to cheapgraphicnovels.com because they have all that stuff and more. And remember, if you're a first time buyer, order something, make it a little on the small-ish side because you're going to get an email confirmation saying thank you for ordering from cheapgraphicnovels.com. You're going to reply to that email message and say 11 O'Clock Comics sent me, and Max is going to give you free shipping on your next order. So it's delicious cake of savings with some free shipping icing on top. Can't beat it. CheapGraphicNovels.com.
That was lovely.
I have an order coming that was shipped yesterday.
Nice. What'd you order?
The Atlas Comics Library from Fantagraphics, Volume 3.
Okay.
Yep.
How was your trip, man? You know everybody at home wants to hear about your trip. I know we're not going to spend too much time on it. But
No.
This was like a pilgrimage for you.
Yeah, trip was great. I was a little sad because my son and I are the only ones in my immediate family to set foot back in the homeland. I would have loved to have been there with my mother and father, but unfortunately they did. So they couldn't come. But I was, they were there in spirit, and it was great. If I had my druthers and a lot more money, I would move to Naples in a second.
Dude, tell me about it. I would live in Italy in 2 seconds.
But from a comics perspective, because that's what this show's all about, right? I kept an eye on the comics as to where I could get them, how prevalent they were. In Barcelona, nothing. In France, nothing. In Italy, everywhere. Comics are, or should I say fumetti, are everywhere. Every second or third block, there's a newsstand. And more often than not, littered with Sergio Bonelli comics.
Mm-hmm.
And what did I bring back? Now, you know what's popular.
Dylan Dog.
Yes, I did. I brought Dylan Dog home. And I brought Martin Mystery. No, Martin Mystery. And what looks like to be a takeoff on The Witcher called Dragonero. And the art is like amazing. I haven't translated them yet, so I didn't bring them to the table this week. But next week, probably. The Dylan Dog is an encyclopedia. It has like 3 Dylan Dog stories, and the subject of each story is investigated in a text piece after the story. So if the first story is about zombies, the text piece has an examination of zombies in pop culture. Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Walking Dead, all of the associated zombie things. And the second one's about a werewolf. So there's all werewolf movies in the second. It's amazing. And it was like $9 for 128 pages. Can't beat it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But I always kept an eye out, and I was amazed just how populous comics are in Italy. Livorno was loaded with them. Pisa had a lot. Rome, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
But Naples had a bunch. And, so Italy, had a lot of comics. France, nothing. But
nice.
But it was great. Food was great. Time was great. It was a little too long. I like to gauge.
Oh, yeah?
Well, here's the deal. I gauge my vacations on the day that I start wanting to come home.
Oh.
If it's early in the vacation wasn't so hot because I wanted to come home. But this one, I didn't want to come home until 2 days before we left. So that's a win for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great. And I think
fantastic.
Judging by the impact in the Atlantic, I think we got home just in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some pictures by Vinny Beats looking all European fly. He had like the linen pants on with the no socks. He was working it.
He's nuts. That kid is crazy.
Looking European as fuck.
Every place we went, he had to go to the beach. I hardly saw him the whole vacation. So,
oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. So the girlfriend went too, as you saw. So they got their own
great
room.
Too.
They had their own room. We had our own room. So I hardly saw him.
Damn. Y'all, that cost a pretty penny.
Okay.
Only live once, my dude.
So the daughters didn't go? It was just Vinny?
No, Mia stayed home with the animals, and Nina has summer school, so she couldn't go.
Okay. All right.
She teaches summer school. She's not in summer school.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Nice. Well, listen, it's been a few weeks, so I want to know what you're drinking.
I am drinking Dogfish Head, 90-minute IPA. Three of them, yes.
You know how much I love you because I, too, am drinking in your honor.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking Angelica Zapata Malbec, which is an Argentinian Malbec.
Nice.
2018.
That's good. Okay, I thought it was some kind of like White Claw or something.
Nah, Brad. No, I got a nice little Malbec going on tonight.
That's all right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dig it. Very nice. I wish I had some wine because I would have celebrated your return with a nice glass of wine. But since there is no wine in the house for me to drink right now, I went with Michter's straight rye with a splash of seltzer.
Nice. I looked at the content list for the episodes that I missed, and I'm like, it's a good time to go on vacation.
You're such an asshole.
Kidding. Yeah.
You're not, though.
No, but Tony held down the fort, I guess.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to have him on.
Good.
He was definitely feeling the post Eisner, letdown. But
hey, it's just a win to be nominated. So good for him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a little exercise you wanted us to engage in.
I did. I was going through previews as we're all want to do, and for folks that are always looking to see if it's worth being a patron. We have a previews channel on the Slack, and every month I go through and post all the things that I'm ordering with little blurbs. So there were over 70 posts yesterday of things that I'm going to be ordering. So and it starts a nice conversation of people, what we're into. And I always find one of the reasons it's selfish to do it, because by doing it, I think it always fosters everybody else to show what they're ordering, and then inevitably, as we talk about seemingly every month, there's always things that no matter how many damn times you go through these catalogs, you miss. And then you're like, oh, shit. In fact, you had something this month. You had the Alan Moore book at first you didn't see.
It's crazy that book isn't promoted more.
It's great. It should be on the cover.
It should, at the very least, there should be a full page.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So I rectified that, though. I did order it.
Oh, no doubt. But as I was going through, I thought, how many years have I been going through this catalog? And there are certain publishers, and then more specifically titles, that are like pretty much in previews, if not every month, always, like quite often. Like they may be gone for a month or two, but they're back, and like they've been there the vast preponderance of the time I've looked at previews, and yet I know next to nothing about them. I've either just never, for whatever reason, just have never curious enough to dig in and read them. And so I said to you guys, I'm like, hey, I can't be the only one that this happens to. Previews is a huge book. There's always those white spots. Like let's chat about titles and lines that are like perennials that we just don't have any perspective on, which is, again, there's not going to be a ton because we've dabbled, we've all tried lots and lots of stuff, but I was surprised because after we all agreed to do it, I rattled off a decent chunk of things that some will probably not be a surprise, some will probably at least for some listeners, be a surprise. So. Yeah. Now, I'll start because I'll tell you the title. There was a specific title in question that I saw previewed here, and I'm like, damn, I feel like that book has been in previews forever, and I've never read a single issue, couldn't tell you anything about it. And that is Amory Wars.
Oh, okay.
Right? But think about it. Like, Amory Wars has been in previews at least, pretty much nonstop for 15 years. And the only thing I knew about Amory Wars before tonight's discussion is that Steggy, our buddy Ryan Stegman, his first published comics work was drawing Amory Wars.
Yes.
But that was that was close to, that was either the first or second New York Comic Con that I found that little factoid out. So we're talking, close to 20 years ago. I know it's by some person from Coheed and Cambria, the band. It's one of them. I don't know whether it's the singer or the guitarist or whatever, but it's Coheed and Cambria creator. It's like a dark fantasy universe. I assume he publishes he self-publishes and funds it. But I know it's been through a couple of different publishers, and it's got to be hundreds of issues, right? They don't, it's not linear. They often rebrand it kind of like Hellboy. It's each, but my point is, it's definitely hundreds of issues, and I couldn't tell you the first. No.
It's. If it's 40 issues, it's a lot.
No, dude, it's been in previews for 15 years.
Those are the collected editions that have been in previews for a long time. I would guarantee you that Amory Wars is no more. I'll go top end. It's no more than 50 issues.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's
just constantly solicited.
Yeah. I've read the first. Okay. I'll flesh this out a little bit. I was a Coheed and Cambria fan.
Okay.
And I made the jump from the audio to the comics when they first were published because I thought, Tony Moore cover, I got to read this, right? I understand the comics about as much as I understand the music.
Okay.
Yeah, it does make sense. It's very linear, but it's very convoluted, and the language is wacky. Look at the titles of his albums. Great Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4. It doesn't roll off the tongue, right? I found it very ponderous. I can
telling me that they basically solicit. So this is what's the publisher that doesn't put out stuff anymore that used to make Providence and
Avatar.
Yeah. So you're telling me this is like Avatar. So for 15 years, I've just been seeing them resolicit different collections or reprints of this same run.
No, the runs are by arc. Right? They retied. It's usually Amory Wars and then it's subtitled something else.
Mm-hmm.
So there are, in the Hellboy format, there's arcs, but I think there were gaps in between the publication history. I don't think the arc 2 came out right after the first one, and maybe months, maybe years in between. Mm-hmm. We need to do a little bit of investigation because I need to know if.
Well, I'm looking here. It says there's only 32 issues ever made.
There you go.
I'm even more mystified. I was mystified bringing it up. I'm even more mystified now because, again, I'm not exaggerating. It has been in previews pretty much nonstop for nearly 2 decades that I've been reading.
It may seem that way, but it originally started at Image. I don't. Where is it at now? Boom, or
no idea.
Yeah,
it is in a Boom. Yeah, it's a Boom.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's bad. It's just that. like their music and their lyrics, it's a bit convoluted. It's a bit cumbersome with the language. And I don't think, from what I can remember, I don't think the art was consistent. But people love...
There you go. So I fucked up my own list for the first one.
But people love Coheed and Cambria. And I mean, I do appreciate the band and Sanchez on some level. I'm not dismissing them outright. Mm-hmm. But I think there is a loyal legion of followers that are keeping this thing afloat.
Much like the comic, I could not tell you a single thing about the band other than Claudio Sanchez is involved in it.
Yeah. Well, it's emo. It's emo metal.
Okay.
And it's definitely not bad. It's just it's a cross between prog and emo stuff, emo metal. Mm-hmm. It has an audience and it's well done, but I'm just not the audience anymore. I was way into them when they first started coming out.
Well, there you go. So what? Go ahead. You go next. What do you got?
My number one. Let's call it a transgressor because the fault is mine. I see this book advertised or solicited on a regular basis, and I always add it to my list. And for whatever reason, I take it off. It never has made the final cut. I know I will enjoy it. It's right in my wheelhouse, but and it's from a publisher that I respect and admire, Drawn and Quarterly. Moomin by Tove Jansson is solicited all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm either it's the multi-volume set or it's the individual volumes or it's whatever, the specials, and I'm like, hot damn, I'm going to order that. And when I get to the point where I start chopping things off because I've gone over the budget, Moomin always gets cut. I don't know why. And just to keep it in the Drawn and Quarterly corner, Kitaro by Shigeru Mizuki.
That I've read.
I always want to get those, and I've never read a single page of it, but it looks exactly like a manga that should, make me very happy. And I've never ever read it. Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, good ones. Dap.
I kind of have a mix of publishers and titles. So starting off with a title, and actually pretty much anything from this publisher, Executive Assistant Iris.
Oh yeah, I have actually read a few issues of that weirdly, but
yeah, me too.
And I mean, I'll just and same thing with Fathom. So basically, almost anything from Aspen for me.
Delic is really good. I like that.
I'm always interested because I see them, and obviously they're influenced by Michael Turner, rest in peace, and I know that people tend to buy and at least enjoy the work, but it's just, like you, Vincent, anytime I might be interested or if I feel like spending a couple extra bucks on something, they just never make the cut.
Yeah.
Fathom is my number 2, Dak.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like, again, Fathom is in... Aspen Comics has been in previews pretty much every month forever.
Yeah. And
again, I have no idea if it's just reprints of the stuff or new stuff. I don't know. But I always see it. Never once thought to order it. Like, even though I know Michael Turner's the guy. And again, like, the point of this is more books. But I have almost no connection to Michael Turner. Because, like, Soulfire, Fat, like, none of that. I never read it. And then he passed away. I have no connection to him other than I know people loved him. And, I couldn't tell you the first thing about Fathom other than it's a female underwater-powered character, right?
Yeah.
She, that was it. Now, that title was never Image, right? He left Image and started Aspen and Fathom came with it?
Not sure.
Okay.
I had a deep infatuation phase with Michael Turner. And so I've read Fathom, not all of it, Soul Wind or whatever it's called. Soulfire. I read that.
Soulfire, yeah.
Yeah. And the stuff it's a lot like what McFarlane does with the Spawn books.
Yeah.
Visually, they're very much in the mainstream superhero mold. Pretty well illustrated, but I thought on the story side, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They're pretty to look at, but I don't think there's much more for the mind there. They're, I don't want to shit on them because, like, again, Aspen's been afloat for a long time. There are a bunch of people buying these books, right?
Well, that's the point of this conversation. Like, obviously, like, all these books must sell well enough that they continue to put them in previews for years and years and years, right?
Right. I mean, read what you love, right? That's one of our the tenets of 11 O'Clock Comics. We don't judge. You read what you want. Mm-hmm. If it makes you happy, more power to you. But I just there wasn't much there for me beyond the surface level, pun intended, with Aspen. And I missed my damn cue. Jason, I don't know if you're aware, but we have a new function here.
I do know, yeah.
Yeah, so I should have, but I didn't. Yeah, so.
Look at that soundboard, people.
Yeah, I'm not going to abuse it. I know you're afraid of me abusing it. I'm not going to do it.
So I have two here that are not intentionally going to hurt Vince's heart. I mean, he knows this already, but I'm going to put it out there in the ether. I put both Gold Digger and Vampirella on my list.
Yeah, I don't expect you to find anything worthwhile in Gold Digger. In fact, it would probably be very painful for you to read.
Well, I mean, one caveat, I forget what it was. Was it like the 400th? There was some big anniversary issue. I'm pretty sure that we did I did read when it was coming out because
200.
I don't know 200. Yeah, so I did read one issue. I couldn't tell you the first thing about it. I don't remember it. I do know I did read one issue back in the day, but for how many hundreds of issues this thing had and how much you care for it, I just don't know much about it other than you really like it.
I do.
And then Vampirella, I mean, I'm sure I've read an occasional Vampirella story, like in an anthology or like maybe like a first issue, but I mean, considering that Vampirella is literally, I mean, there are multiple Vampirella comics solicited every month. I mean, you know, it is fair to say there's been hundreds upon hundreds of Vampirella comics.
This is true
over the years.
Yeah,
and I, you know, again, maybe I've read 2 or 3, maybe over the course of our time together. Like, and that's, I'm not even sure I could say that with certainty. Right.
The only ones you need to be concerned with are the original Warren issues.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They are the best. They will never be eclipsed. They're the best in terms of story and art and all that. The Dynamite stuff it's okay. Christopher Priest is he's trying to add some kind of a mythology to it. He's adding, more female vampires and instances, and he's tying a bunch of books together. It's a grand gesture that Christopher Priest is making, and I respect him for doing it, but, the art's not there.
My thing, and we've talked about this before, I don't particularly love fan service, meaning if you're going to give me that, like, go all the way. You know what I mean? Like, that's I've always kind of, it's just never, and I feel like Vampirella's kind of the poster girl for that. Like, obviously it's not Japanese fan service, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, she's, as you've said many times, like, she's not sexual. Like, she's sexy.
Yes.
But like she never has sex, you know.
She does. That's weird. She does, but it's very cheesecakey. In fact, in the original run, from what I can remember, there's only one splash page where her breasts are exposed, and it was
I can't have that.
It was a huge no-no. You don't show Vampirella nude. You just don't do it. The whole mystique with Vampirella is the cheesecake and the tease and the you know, you don't want to see the steak. You want that sizzle. And once you bear all, what's left, right? So and that's, I mean, I'm not, that's a personal preference with me. You never ever show Vampirella nude. It's just
right. No, I get that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But they've bent that rule a little bit. Like the newer ones show more than they have in the past, but they still don't ever show her nude. Like there'll be other characters that are nude, but almost never ever Vampirella.
Okay.
And
what else? What else you got, Dap? You've given us executive assistant Iris.
Taro.
Taro, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, you'd hate it.
What?
You'd hate it.
Oh yeah, no, and at the time, Jim Ballant was that guy. He had a phenomenal run on Catwoman because he definitely drew what the audience wanted. And I'm sure it's an entertaining book, but yeah, him alone was not enough for me to wade into those waters, and just because also just judging by the solicits, it really didn't feel like it was anything that was going to set my world on fire. So it's something that just I never really felt like pursuing. If a random issue landed in front of me or something, and I found it in a goodie bag and I flipped through it, is one thing. But as far as going out of my way to look for it or purchase it, that's never happened.
That's a good one. I have read a little bit of Tarot, but that's a good one. How about you, Vince?
I've read over 100 issues of Tarot.
No, I meant what else do you got?
This is more a publisher.
Okay.
I don't think and this is a rarity, because when Jason suggested this little exercise, I thought, man, it's going to be hard to find a publisher from which
I thought it'd be hard for you. Yeah, I thought it'd be hard for you.
I have, to my knowledge, if I look through my entire library, I doubt that there is a single instance of a publication from Cinebook.
Okay.
And I see their stuff solicited: Orbital, Valerian, which they made a movie of, Thorgal. Yeah. Like, Thorgal looks great to me.
Thorgal, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
And I've never, ever ordered them. And they're really not expensive. They're in the Euro album format, and they're usually around $14.95 for like maybe 64 pages. So they're cost effective. They're beautiful books. But I've never, like that Aldebaran series, I see it and it's like, holy shit, this looks right in my wheelhouse. Why am I not ordering this? I never do. We're weird, right? Our habits are
I don't think
strange.
I've ever ordered Cinebook. Yeah, I don't think I've ever. I guess that'd be on my list too. I didn't have it on my list, but I can't think of a time I've ever ordered anything from them. I thought you were going to say American Mythology, because I feel like they've been the solicits every, like, it's not on my list because I actually have read a few things. Like I read the Pink Panther series, a couple issues, but like I feel like American Mythology's been in previews for a long, long time too, and it's like normally that's a complete skip. I skip it right over.
Oh, I've ordered my share from them.
I figured.
Zorro.
Yeah,
like a bunch of stuff. I can't say I
Trump's Troopers.
No, usually if Mike Wolfer does a horror book out of American mythology, I'll order it. But more often than not, it was the Zorro stuff, and they were also doing the Edgar Rice Burroughs books for a while. I ordered those. I mean, I don't love the publisher, but I don't dislike them either. So yeah, I'll look to see what they have. Usually, it's like a pop culture pastiche book, like the Trump thing, or or Florida Guy. I don't want to read that stuff, and like Three Stooges, in space or whatever. They seem like they're working their way into a niche that I don't want to enter. Yeah,
I got one that I think may be the only clean sweep for all three of us, and it has nearly 300 issues.
Wow, that's interesting.
Grim fairy tales from Zenescope.
I have pretty much everything from Zenescope. I have Zenescope as a publisher as a whole. But yes, you're absolutely right.
None of us has ever read a Zenescope book.
That's what I'm saying. Almost 300 issues.
Yeah,
I looked that one up.
That's a trick.
Yeah.
That is a lot of issues. Yeah, right?
Saying, like, I don't want to be, that guy, but nothing about their output appeals to me.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying, but like props, right? Like, hey man, like you must be doing something right? Like it ain't easy to put out 300 issues of a comic.
Yeah. The thing that gets me about Zenescope is, in the solicits, more often than not, the writer will be listed and the artist is always TBA. TBA, and I'm like, I'm not going to order anything that I can't at least see preview pages from.
I'm sure I told you guys this story years ago, but back when I was going to every Eagles game and I had season tickets, we were at tailgates one time, and like one of the guys at our tailgate comes up, he's like, "Hey, Wood, I want you to meet these guys," and he was like, "This is Joe and Ralph. They're fellow Eagles fans, and they're super comic nerds too." Well, they're the publishers of Zenescope. And they're like, yeah, we have a publishing company called Zenoscope, and I'm like, I was like, oh, cool. I'm like, that's all, I was thinking like, oh my god, like of all the people, like of all the publishers to meet at something like social, right? Like I gotta meet the Zenoscope guys. Like, exactly right.
Oh yes. See, the soundboard can be effective. Yes.
Yes. That's great. Yes.
Oh boy, I have another
one.
So
there you go, clean sweep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
This is sad. Magnetic.
That is
Wait,
sad.
what?
Yeah, I almost.
Wait.
I'm not
surprised, though.
Wait, what?
You know, every time we bring up one of their books, bro, he's like, yeah, it sounds great.
I will say, out of the gate, I have ordered their stuff before. I find it of a very high quality. Every previews, I look at their solicits and I'm like, damn, that looks good. And I make a mental note, but when it comes time to order, I almost never order a magnetic book.
Holy crap, I'm floored.
Yeah.
Because I think I've read like 95% of the stuff.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And it's not for lack of trying. Like I always plan to order their books, but they're at a price point that makes it easy for me to trim them from my final.
Yeah, most of the time they're like archival hardcovers, $50 type of things. Yeah,
like Dap was ordering the Sergio Topi stuff, and I was like, wow, it looks really good, but it's.
I thought you were in on the Topi stuff.
No,
okay.
Nope.
Wow.
No.
So all the wow. So like, man, like.
The Bablé stuff? Nope.
Yeah, the Bablé stuff is all... Yeah. Oh, my God.
I'm sorry.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas. Shit.
Excellent. I'm down. I'll read them and love them. They're of a very, very high quality.
Yeah, shit. Wow.
I just don't do it.
What else you got, Dan?
This is sad, and it's not... Although now it just feels so fucking daunting, but no matter where it was published... And I've even flipped through some of the novels, but I have never read an Elric comic.
Oh my!
Me neither.
Oh my God! I'm dead.
Same.
It looks hella interesting, and I've always been like, but I don't know where to. I don't know if you could if it's like Conan, where you can just read a random story, or if I should start at the beginning, and then what the hell's the beginning?
Yeah, Dark Elves are saltpeter to me. I'm like, Dark Elves.
Stop. It's not surprising on the Jason end. On the Dap end, it's very surprising because not only do you have P. Craig Russell, you have Michael T. Gilbert.
Yeah, true.
And that doesn't compute at all. That Dap has not read a Michael T.
Yeah,
Gilbert
Mr. Monster guy, and you don't even... Yeah, it's crazy.
Can you tell me where to start?
You could probably Sailor on the Seas of Fate, maybe. I'll set you up.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got two that are going to make our boy Frank Lanza cry, but I have never read a Lady Death or Evil Ernie comic.
I've read a random Lady Death issue here and there, and I probably checked out Evil Ernie when it started in the 90s, but not since.
I literally couldn't say anything about. I know what they look like because of the solicits, but I don't know a thing about them, like what the characters are about. Like I know nothing about them. I couldn't tell you anything about like prominent creators. I just don't. They're complete white spaces to me, other than that I have friends that seemingly love them.
I can tell you with all honesty, they're not for you.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed. They're great. I love them. I read it when I can, but I really can't see you coming out of an issue of either being like, yeah, it was great, that was the bomb.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like it's the kind of thing that would appeal to me, you know.
Right. Not surprising at all.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm still. I don't know if I can get over the magnetic one. So do you have another one, Vince? You can say Marvel next.
I do. I do have another one. I have ordered some stuff from this publisher, and I've always been very satisfied and pleased with what I've received. But NBM.
Okay. Yeah.
Specifically the Rick Geary stuff. The ones I have ordered. Svar and Trondheim's Dungeon. I love that series. Love it. Every time it's
Dungeons,
solicited,
okay.
bam, I order it. But the Rick Geary stuff is always very attractive to me, and I never order it. And there's a bunch of books, like 13 looks interesting. Yeah, never tried it. It's just NBM has been around for a long, long time. And for whatever reason, I'll circle it on the previews page. And then when it comes time to place that final order, they usually get cut.
That one I'm pretty covered in, man. I've read Lone Sloan.
Well, I have Lone Sloan from other publishers. So
okay, and admittedly, when I think of NBM, I think of their erotica line, which I've read quite a lot of it.
I did order the NBM. They did was it called Sizzle? It was like an adult's magazine that was more pinups than comics, but I think I lasted a bunch of issues with that. But and I have read Boneyard. I like Boneyard a lot, but for the majority of their output, never seems to cross that finish line with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I again, like their line is called Erotica. I've definitely read a bunch of that stuff over the years. So, but yeah.
I've got basically the and when you said the Polito stuff, I thought of I had it on my list, but I don't think they publish, but Boundless. So like anything like that Jungle Fantasy or
that was the low hanging fruit. That's the low hanging fruit.
Seriously,
yeah. You're right. To your point, though, they put out dozens of comics every month, including if you include the variants, right?
Well, I think they're in Avatar mode now because they're basically the same company. So they're just selling old stuff.
Yeah, they are the same company, which is weird.
Yeah. I think that's a clean sweep. I've never read
nice. Okay, yeah. All right. And the only I only have two more, which are basically publishers, but I don't know who's next.
Well, one that again probably won't be a surprise to people given the subject matter. Me not being a D&D guy, but I have never read Knights of the Dinner Table, and I believe it's well over 300 issues.
You can add me to that list.
Same.
There you go. Okay, yep. Another clean sweep. There you go. But that's another one, right? Like just quietly, just year after year, right? Just putting out stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot in the Dave Sim recipe where there's enough people that buy it that keeps it afloat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's Dave Sim selling those goofy one-offs?
I know. I always wonder that too.
Yeah.
Lenny.
Probably.
Sea-Towner 1. Yeah. Shout out. I'll just give my last two, and then you guys can give yours if you have any left. One, I mentioned earlier, Vince, you were talking about Beano. Never read a single page of Beano, even though it's like one of the longest running comic series ever.
It's sad.
And then, I mean, there's lots of manga I haven't read, but probably of like the really long running, super popular manga, I've at least tried most of them, but I have never read a single page of My Hero Academia.
Same.
Of what?
I'm fascinated that you haven't. I feel like you'll just try. I feel like you almost like try every manga out of like almost like.
Yeah, well, it's I let it go initially, and now it's just daunting. Like
it's ending, right? Like it just ended, right? Yeah,
yeah.
Or it's ending. It's finally ending, right?
And I think maybe the superhero aspect of it is kind of a put off for me. Yeah, but I mean, I'll eventually read it.
You got any more?
No.
Yeah.
American Mythology, the publisher.
Oh, I mentioned them. Yeah. I mean, I would. It would almost be a clean sweep, but we had one of those.
Oh no! Yeah, we did the Pink Panther.
Yeah, we all read the Pink Panther because I picked it randomly because I thought
right.
none of us have ever read American Mythology. So but that doesn't. I mean, one issue just doesn't preclude you from saying it because they've put out hundreds.
The only other one I can think of, that flipping through previews today, this week was Paper Cuts.
Interesting. I'd have to see like what they put out because I can't think of anything offhand that's by Paper Cuts, but I can't be sure. I haven't tried something that they did.
A lot of Smurfs.
No,
and
that.
They once did the Tales from the Crypt style
Probably would have heard that.
EC stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, probably would be on my list too. Then there you go. Well, there you go. So, I mean, honestly, like that is not that much stuff, considering that there are thousands of IP in previews pretty regularly, right? So, like we do spray our shots far and wide, you know.
So let's just put a different spin on it, but keep it in the same wheelhouse. What comic from the big two, long-running comic from the big two, have you never read a single issue of?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there is one. Is there?
I have one.
Really?
Yes. I have read this character as a guest star, but I have never read a Moon Knight comic.
Okay. Well, you know, you weren't actually here. You were away, but I just read the whole entirety of McKay and Cappuccio's 35-issue run while you were gone. So, no, I've read a ton of Moon Knight comics. I honestly, I mean, with Marvel for sure, that there's no such thing for me. But DC, there's probably, but I have to think. You know what? Okay, I don't think I've ever read a Firestorm comic. Like I've read comics with Firestorm in it, but I don't think I've ever read any of his single issue stuff.
Yeah. And you know the recent developments with Moon Knight, right? From Blood Feud.
I just got done telling you I read the entire.
But I thought it was a Blood Feud issue and not a.
No, as I came to find out in reading the McKay Moon Knight is basically a multi-year prequel to Blood Hunt. Like Blood Hunt is
Blood Hunt.
Is the,
yeah, Blood Hunt.
Yeah. So yes. I'm gonna pick up. I'm planning on ordering the new Fist of Khonshu, which is the continuation of the whole thing.
Wow, so you liked it?
I really did. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Well, I mean, again, it's like I said, it's really well executed, straight down the middle superhero stuff. It's not 11 o'clock Oscar worthy, but it's at a time when I don't find a ton of superhero books all that interesting. I found this one interesting enough to keep going with it.
Yeah, I was interested enough to at least approach trying it because of the prevalence of Tigra in the series. So, yeah. And I guess she's going to stick around based on the page I've seen from Blood Hunt. So,
yeah, they're a crew. It's Moon Knight, it's Hunter's Moon, who is the other Fist of the Khonshu. It's Tigra, and then there's two vampires that are like part of their crew as well.
Nice.
Soldier and I can't think of. He's got like a Gal Friday. I can't think of her name right now, but
yeah, I will say as an event, Blood Hunt doesn't suck, which is I think that's a compliment. Like I thought it was a worthwhile endeavor.
I mean, I enjoyed it, but again, I'm an easy mark because it's Marvel and it's vampires.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I know some people thought that it was not so great, and more power to everybody, to each their own. But it was going to be hard for me to like find nothing enjoyable about that, just because I'm such a mark for vampire books. But yeah, I mean, I really liked it. It was 5 issues, get in, get out. It wasn't some protracted like year long. Right. We're going to change the Marvel Universe thing. So yeah, I mean, again, I liked it, but I'm not going to sit here and like get mad at people for saying they didn't. It's
right, exactly.
I totally understand it. Yeah,
and I'm sure people are going to say the same thing about Venom War, right? I mean,
well, if we talk about it, I mean, yeah, I mean, I won't. I don't know if we're moving on from, but I did not care for Venom War.
It was goofy. It was silly. I mean, symbiotes. I think there should be a component of goofiness when you're doing a symbiote story. They're by nature silly. They're goofy. It's kind of, I mean, it lends itself to the slapstick and the animation physics and reality and stuff. So yeah, I thought it was stupid fun. Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I mean, I didn't think it was horrible, but I'm not going to, pull out the trumpet and get on the roof, right? It was okay.
Pat, did you have any Marvel or DC that you don't think you've read?
I'd probably be the reverse of you. I've probably read, especially with when you have tie-ins like the Crisis and Legends and Millennium. I've probably read most DC titles over the years, up until at least New 52 or Rebirth or whatever the hell. But for Marvel, yeah, there's got to be something out there. But yeah, I'd really have to think on it for a while.
I've never read an issue of All-Star Squadron.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
I've read many.
I'm not proud of it.
Well, I mean, anytime you probably would have, just anybody who would maybe think about trying All-Star Squad, this is the time I'm going to try it because they're going to have a tie-in or a crossover because it was the annual Justice League of America crossover for 3 months, and so 3 issues of JLA, 2 issues of All-Star Squadron. But chances are you were going to read a comic with Perdigaton, and that's a thing for Vince. So
yeah. Well, Perdigaton's not as bad as
Vandal Savage.
Fucking caveman.
You are hilarious.
He
dude.
sucks, man.
It's funny.
Sorry. What am I calling this for the show notes?
I don't know. Unread IP?
Always seen, never looked at. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll just call it Unread IP. So what else do we have?
Well, I mean, I read a couple things that blew my socks off. My toes curl, and it's from a publisher that you are too often saying doesn't curl your toes anymore, and shame on you for that.
No, I know what you're talking about. And they do curl my toes. It's just that there are dry spots in between the curlage.
Have you read either of the 2 books I put on the list from Fana yet?
Let me see what your list is.
Well, I'm talking about Kommix, Kommix by Charles Burns.
Well, I mean, come on. Number one, you didn't read it. You looked at the pictures. And,
well, yeah, right. No, it's an art book. Yeah, it's an art book.
Right, yeah. That's a no-brainer. That's coming. So I haven't.
Okay, yeah, you haven't gotten it yet. Then okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And I haven't read.
Push and Destroy.
Yes, I have it, but I haven't read it. There's another volume solicited in, I think, this issue.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, listen, like you said, I mean, I can't really spoil comics for you, even though you haven't gotten it yet. So I'll talk about it. It was phenomenal. We've got 2 Charles Burns books coming this year. We've got this, and then we've got Final Cut coming. Next month or month after? This one is, as Vince alluded, it's more of an art book than a comic in the sense that the premise is that he made a hardcover graphic novel of 80 mock covers of comics because he felt like it, which I love. And the comics are all but 1 or 2 of them have no word balloons at all. I think 2 or 3 of the covers have actual words, but for the most part, it's literally just almost like an artist edition or something where you're just looking at covers. But listen, give me 80 Charles Burns cover mock-ups, and I'm a happy camper because they are just wild and crazy. You know, there's a bunch that have strange, almost alien-like numbers. Or not numbers, but head titles. Like the titles make no sense, but they're not from any known language. There's others that are like throwbacks to old, 40s and 50s style stuff, like Unwholesome Love and Drug Buddy and Huss, and they're just Charles Burns drawing these incredible images that tell a story. Each page tells a story, and you've got some that are fairly mundane, almost look like traditional horror or pulp comics, and then you've got others that are just totally bizarre, right? Like just out of just like really disfigured, crazy, amorphous alien type creatures, and it's just a fascinating look into the very disturbed but incredibly talented mind of Charles Burns, and it's a real sight to behold. And it's the kind of thing that, like, even though there's no words, you do want to spend some time with it. Like, I just sat and looked at each page for. I just took my time to let each one kind of sink in, and thought, like, man, what a blast this would be to, the idea I think he was going for is that you pull open a short box of someone's collection, and it's got this curated collection of stuff they're really into, and it's pretty incredible, man. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's so cool that you almost wish that these comics did exist so you could open up the pages and see what's in them, and. We talk a lot about how comics today, covers today, at least for me, aren't much of a draw because they're often drawn by artists who don't draw the interiors. They're often drawn like on spec, where the artists drawing the covers don't really know a ton about what's in the comic itself. It's been a long time since these comics covers actually told a story. For the most part, there are exceptions, but so this idea of like making a graphic novel about the idea of covers telling you a story that you're never going to get to read, kind of flipping the whole idea on its head, I think that's pretty fun. And it was awesome. I mean, of course, it's Charles Burns, so why wouldn't it be? But man, oh man, was it just a treat, a visual treat.
It's a beautiful looking book, for sure.
It is. It's incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it's just... I mean, unwholesome love. Who doesn't love that?
Right.
Right?
I love that weird-ass alien language, those glyphs that he puts on things.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And I would not be surprised if there's a conversion tool. Like
there may be.
It probably actually...
I looked for it on the web. I mean, I tried to see if there was a known one, but no one, at least I couldn't come up and find it. So.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, Kommix, Kommix by Fanta. It's awesome. I mean,
Charles Burns is one of those guys that never really went away with me.
Because
when he wasn't making comics, I was still exposed to his head drawings in the Believer magazine. So it's like he seems to have been like leering over my shoulder for decades. Plus, there's the raw stuff and stuff.
We've never discussed Black Hole on the show, have we?
We never discussed what? No, we haven't.
Black Hole.
We were threatening with making it a book of the month.
Yeah, it's on that list.
Well, hopefully we do.
Works for me. Oh, and I have to say, for those of you who are not patrons, we used to release a bonus little episode of just behind the scenes stuff that gets trimmed from regular episodes that we thought the patrons would enjoy hearing. But after a while, we abandoned it for whatever reason. But we're doing it again. So this new patron behind the scenes episode is almost 2 hours long.
Nice.
And
I still have to send you the last 2 weeks.
So if you're a patron, there's that to look forward to. It's just a bunch of shit that goes on.
Outtakes. It's our nonsense.
Yeah, it's outtakes. It's goofiness. Yeah. It's just plain stupidity. But people seem to enjoy it, so we brought it back.
Yes.
And
so listen, you haven't been able to regale us with what you've been reading for weeks. So tell us what you're loving.
Well, I've read a bunch of stuff.
I hope so. You're on vacation. I mean,
well, I didn't bring any comics with me.
What?
No, I never do. I'm on vacation, dude. I'm not going to bring comics.
I mean, for me, like that's part of vacation is getting a relaxed read.
Yeah.
I have my very own Fanzine-O-Rama. I know Jason is going to love this discussion, but I don't care. First up, this is in the running for my fanzine of the year. We don't have fanzine.
You don't have that category,
but maybe we should after this, because this is another in a string of awesome documents, archival documents that capture the moment in comics. And this was a moment that none of us attended. The editor is Brian Baynes. The fanzine is Bubbles. And this is issue number 20, which is a testament for the Bubbles Con, which was held May 4th, 2024, in the main branch of the Richmond Public Library. So why is this issue special? Well, if you didn't attend Bubbles Con, for $8, you can experience, that's the cover price of this issue. For $8, you can experience everything that went on at the Bubbles Con. Transcripts of the interviews with all of the guests. So you get Ryan Holmberg. We know who he is, right? The translator extraordinaire. Jenny Zervakis. Dash Shaw. What? Gabrielle Bell. And my dude, CF. Christopher Ford.
Nice.
So whatever the panels that were held at Bubbles Con are completely transcribed. So it's like being there. And the interviews are peppered with drawings, some done on the scene, some not, of the attendees. It's just an amazing document of this wonderful occasion. Holmberg talks about the economics of being a translator, how he manages to make a living doing something that's not very lucrative, but he's somehow turning it into at least a living wage for himself, hopefully something more. But I thought that was very insightful because no one really focuses on the translators of these manga that we love so much. And so parts of it were his work for New York Review Comics, and he got into like why some of the big publishers, the translation is you can't broach a big publisher because they have their own translators. But Holmberg is spearheading with Living the Line this imprint where he is not only translating but he's curating. He's bringing over these books that he deems worthy to expend a significant amount of time and energy translating, one of which is the UFO Mushroom Invasion, which we all went gaga over. That's coming out very soon from Living the Line. And then my man Dash Shaw is himself, of course, and talks about animation and the creative process and why his books are so fucking long. But the thing that really got me was my dude CF, who was, along with Dash Shaw, was a Picture Box mainstay. That's where I first encountered CF at Picture Box. And he lovingly talks about not only Picture Box, but Dan Nadell and Power Masters, of course. I think, am I the only one of us who's actually read and talked about Power Masters from CF? I think I am.
Oh, I've read it. No, I haven't talked about it on the show, but I've read it after you talked about it.
Did you love it?
I liked it. I mean, it's been a long time. I can't say I remember reading and enjoying it, but I can't tell you a lot about it.
Well, it's not over because as far as this interview is concerned, volumes 4, 5, and 6 will come out, okay, but not until he's finished all of them. Because he doesn't want there to be a gap in any of the issues, which respect, right? He also talks about Fort Thunder, which if you're going to, pierce my heart, Fort Thunder is the way to do it. And he's talking about, when he was young, he cold called them. Like he's just cold called the guys at Fort Thunder and, didn't know who was going to answer. Could have been Brian Chippendale, could have been, Matt Brinkman, but that's amazing. That's amazing to me. I think Fort Thunder is one of the most important artistic movements ever in comics. And this guy was not only, somewhat of a product of that, but he was actually he actually knew them and was in that vibrant scene. But in addition to all that, so you get all of BubblesCon, but that's not all. In the back, you get, God, I don't know, could be maybe 70 reviews of books. Shirley's Witchman is in here. Charles Burns' Final Cut, something I'm going to talk about later. Jason, Secondhand Love by Yamada Murasaki's in here. Yeah, just a bunch of stuff. They're basically capsule reviews, but I actually hit up Brian today on the Instagram because the very last review is for the Clusterfucks Adult Swim tribute that was released for Free Comic Book Day. And he's like, yeah, this was really great. It was cool to see Robot Chicken and Tim and Eric and Space Ghost, but I would have loved to see some Xavier Renegade Angel, which wasn't in it. And I'm like, my dude, there was a Xavier Renegade Angel page in the Clusterfucks comics special issue because I drew it. so he's like, oh, my bad, whatever. Yeah, he's a good guy, and, we talked briefly, but if you're not reading Bubbles, yeah, you should really get on it, because as far as zines go, this is like top of the stack. That other zine that everybody focuses on, Strangers, it's good, but it's no Bubbles. I mean, let's be honest. Bubbles is in my opinion, head and shoulders above Strangers. But anyway, one of the takeaways from this issue, and this is all me, there's a full-page ad for New York Review Comics. We've all read stuff from New York Review Comics. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at their lineup, Distant Ruptures by CF, Ninjas Sarutobi Sasuke by Segura Shigeru, you got Blurry by Dash Shaw, Masters of the Nefarious. I think, you know how much I love Picture Box. If New York Review Comics continues with this level of production, I think they could be the new Picture Box. And for me to say that, like, that's a big deal. Because Picture Box is pretty close to being, it's not, but it's close to being one of my all-time favorite publishers. And what Dan
makes sense. I mean, New York Review's got, like, I know they've done the last few Dash Shaw books. I know they did Discipline. I know they did, what was the other one? He did Blurry, right? Like, I know they.
Blurry's coming out soon. Yeah, I mean, it's out.
I'm saying I've ordered it though. Yeah. And they did the Nancy and Sluggo thing, right? Like,
exactly. So they have two Picture Box alumni already, CF and Dash Shaw. So it's like,
was Santoro part of that crew or no?
Picture Box, yes. Yeah.
Was he? I mean, because they did Pittsburgh, right? I think they.
Well, Pittsburgh was, I think, an original. No, that didn't come out from Picture Box. That came out through New York Review. So yeah, they got Frank too. So yeah, that's a big part of the gang.
That like the spiritual successors of Picture Box.
But I would. Yeah. I mean, my eye is on New York Review. I always order their stuff. I'm hoping that they could come close to what Picture Box did. So, and this is all from just like a one-page ad. But do you guys read Bubbles? You should. It's amazing.
No.
And there's
me. I mean, I never like. I always think when you talk about zines, they sound awesome. But like, I never. The conduit to which I find comics, like zines, never make my way. Like they never make it to me. Like because I think you order directly from their website, right? Like I don't.
Yeah.
So I never think till it just never crosses my mind. Like I don't. You know what I mean? Like I don't think of them. Even though I'm sure I would enjoy reading it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. It's just a really heartfelt, well put together zine by a guy who loves comics and loves not only comics, but the chronicling the ways and means by which they're made. Mm-hmm. We need stuff like this.
Yeah, shout out to like you said, like New York Review, man, living the line. Silver Sprocket, like. They're always like it feels like there's always it's like seedlings growing into flowers. Like no matter who goes by the wayside, right? Because we lost obviously Pitzer, Ad House. We lost Ad House. We lost Picture Box. Lost a bunch more, but like where there's a will, there's a way, right? So we've got these new ones that are newish. I mean, they've all been around for a few years now, but collectively, like putting out fucking great shit. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Pitzer is in this. Because he attended the con, he was selling, his big old zine box, and then there's a picture of him in here. It's always good to see Chris Pitzer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how many times have we hung with him? But the fact that Ad House, we all know Ad House is no more, but Pitzer still exists, and he's still doing stuff in comics. Whether it's he's not producing them, but he's still in the let's call it an art form. So
for sure,
yeah, it's great. BubblesCon. I'll be back.
Very good.
Soon with another zine. So I want to hear from somebody else.
Respect. Well, Dap's been quiet, so regale us, King.
Well, we there was really one book that I was looking forward to this week, so I had to make sure that I read it for tonight, and it's never a book for prudes or the faint of heart, but Grendel Devil's Crucible Defiance #2 shows way more than I think Matt has shown recently. There's boobs right on the first page, but yeah, I don't necessarily think that this particular pair is going to sell the book, okay. But nor will the pair on the last page and that hanging sack on her partner. There's a we're picking up pretty much where we left off after the first issue, where with the Paladin, with Grendel moseying along with his two new friends, and we get a little bit of a what's been going on in the past couple hundred years. Nice little page spread of breaking it down. Harry is telling him what's basically, because Grendel's basically like, listen, pretend I'm new, talk to me treat me like I'm 5, and let me know what the hell's been going on, and so we kind of get caught up there, and there's a wrecking crew. It's basically like a biker gang that there's a bounty out for Grendel, since he made a mess of things at the swap meet or the flea market, whatever you want to call it, and because he's traveling with some compatriots, they're probably part of the bounty as well. So this biker gang is on the lookout for them. Grendel decides to leap into action, since basically he's the reason why they're being hunted. And the main Chak is the leader of the pack here, and he needs a break. He's been riding so long, can't feel his prick anymore. So in the meantime,
I've been there, man.
He tells homeboy to unchain that bitch boy and fetch him here to give me a slurp. Mm-hmm. And he's like, heads up, drag that little cocksucker front and center. Chak's hurting. And there's a panel of basically, this dude dressed up as a gimp that just slobbing the knob. And Matt is, so say we all. Yeah, he's just like, listen, get in where you fit in. So what happens to Chak after the Paladin shows up isn't pretty. So I'm going to leave that for the people who actually want to see wanton violence. But yeah, it's a he makes work of the biker gang, and they continue to go on their merry way. Catching up a little bit, telling Grendel's not really laying it all out there as far as what he's been up to or who he actually is. But there is it's I don't want to say it's an uneasy alliance. Harry and Ptolemy seem to be more trusting of Grendel than Grendel is of them, but that could all be just to put him at ease. But they are on their way to their base camp, and we'll see what happens with that. And the last page sets things up for some trouble in the next issue. But this moves at a pretty good clip. I think this was a I as much as I enjoyed the first issue, I think because of the action and the moving of the story, and we're past that Grendel Prime is in a future that he doesn't recognize, and now that we've gotten that out of the way, we're moving forward. This was a pretty solid issue, and I'm just saying that Matt seems to have a lot of fun with anatomy and body parts, and there aren't too many pages in this issue that I'd be able to send to Vince to put into the gallery. So I'll just leave it at that. But it's a solid second issue. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm really psyched to see. I mean, we're halfway done with the first part of this trilogy, but I really enjoyed this issue for many reasons, but the fact that that Matt was definitely feeling his more underground comic self was
okay.
Was very enjoyable.
Nice. Love it.
Vince already put the previews images in there for you. So don't you worry about it.
Look at you.
You worry about it there.
Single tier.
Yeah.
All organized and stuff.
Did you catch up on Rook, Vince?
I didn't read 4 yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, come on,
we'll
Rick.
talk about it.
No, but I got all 3 issues of issue 4 of the 3 books, and I didn't read them any of them yet.
I think it's a great issue.
They're all great issues. Screw what Jason.
No, they are.
But screw what I say.
No, he loves Rook out of all of them so far. Rook X is his favorite. Yeah. But I, as much as we've been enjoying those each issue, the 4th issue is just is slamming.
Yeah, I really liked it. Yeah, no, like I said, Red Coat didn't grab me like it grabbed you guys, but it's not. I mean, I'm not throwing shade though. Like it's all good. Like I'm glad
it's not the suck.
Yeah, I mean, right. It's for me. It's just the art. I just don't like. I know you guys are kind of vibing on the art, not really vibing on the Red Coat art as much, but it's all good. Don't hate, celebrate, Vince.
Yeah, broke a clock. It's all right.
Welcome back, man. It's good to have you.
Yeah, it is. It's good to be back. I got something else real quick. This is another zine, but it's not going to take long.
Bring it.
Because it's very specific. It is from Make Ready Press. The name of the zine is called Dummy, of which this is the first issue. And Jason, get this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm going to tell you who's interviewed in this issue, and you're going to tell me. You're going to tell me what the subject is.
Okay.
Okay. Gary Panter.
Okay.
Wayne White. Rick Heitzman. Mark Newgarden, and Kaz. What is the subject of this zine? It's too long. Taking too long.
I'm gonna Raw Magazine.
You're close, but no. Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Oh, I'm out.
What? No. Wait.
No, you know I don't like Pee Wee Herman, dude. We've talked about this many times.
It's not about liking Pee Wee Herman. It's about respecting Pee-wee's Playhouse for what it is.
If we all have one flaw, that is Jason's.
Right?
Pee-wee's Playhouse. Jesus Christ.
It's a shame.
Okay, yes.
That's not even funny. It's not even approaching funny.
I know.
It is so wrong on many levels. One of the most influential.
Dude, it scared me as a kid. It freaked me out. I mean, it was like I found it scary.
Right, because it was weird and different and strange and disturbing.
It seemed like pedo, dude. It seemed like pedo fuel. It was like it freaked me out.
I got nothing. But
anyway. I didn't like Mr. Rogers either. It seemed like pedo stuff to me. But like again, like I'm not like I know you guys love it. I'm not. You entrapped me. I didn't bring up Pee-wee's Playhouse to shit on it. You were like, oh, it doesn't mean anything to me. But please speak on it. I'm glad you love it. Like that's cool.
Anyway, this issue is a very high quality where you have Bubbles that has a very DIY aesthetic. The Dummy zine is very upscale. Very thick covers. You got me knocked off my game now. I can't believe it. The paper is it's all full color. The whole issue's full color, where Bubbles is black and white. But this is a capsule of the people that went into making Pee-wee's Playhouse. Like I said, one of the most influential and groundbreaking television series of all times. So there's a lot of unseen art in here. There's a lot of behind the scenes commentary by those involved. It is absolutely amazing. If you're a fan of Raw, of Gary Panter and the underground comics of this period, and not only Pee-wee Playhouse, this is an amazing document. You need to get this, but it's not cheap. Go to Make Ready Press. Just Google Dummy Make Ready Press, and it'll take you right to its website. I believe with shipping, this thing cost me $20. and it's basically maybe 46 pages. But it's well worth it because the insight you get into the making of this show is amazing. I would have bought it just for Gary Panter, but there's more. Like I said, Wayne White and company. It is just a great. It's. I don't want to call it a zine. It's actually It's a full-fledged magazine. The production values are very high, so check it out. Dummy #1. The second issue is going to go into Mickey Mouse. So keep an eye out for that. But
nice.
This is important. This is an important release, just like the Bubbles was. This issue of Dummy is very, very important because it's a document, Jason. That's what we need. We need people doing this on the sidelines that are documenting these things for future generations. Because
Absolutely.
After the internet goes tits up, what are we going to have? Print publications.
You know, I used to think that all that stuff would happen like long after we were dead, but I'm thinking like before I die, like the internet's going to collapse.
Right? All you need is one well-placed EMP. It's all
and
over.
Not even EMP, just like with I just think it's going to get unwieldy. People are going to be like, I'm out.
Well, if it doesn't,
like,
if it
I'm
doesn't,
out, dude. Like I don't.
No, not only that, but I think the more the longer it exists, the more restrictions are going to be placed on it. I don't think it's always going to be the playground it is now. I think.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
I think there's going to be an Orwellian end to the internet.
Yeah, Private Eye was like most good sci-fi, right? Yeah. It was prescient.
Yeah.
But man, I adore Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, there's no questioning it's critical acclaim, right? I mean. I feel like it won Emmys like every year that it existed.
Yeah. It didn't just push the envelope, it blew it up.
I mean, I know Lawrence Fishburne was up in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
King of Cartoons.
John Paragon, rest in peace.
I'm talking about the visual aesthetic. I mean, yeah, the actors were all great and stuff, but just what these artists did.
It was definitely like super progressive. I mean, right? Like you all. I mean, yeah.
It's okay.
I just honestly think I was a little like
you were too young.
A little too young, yeah. It was scary to me, but I mean, full disclosure, it just kind of freaked me out. But
that's a good thing. Anything that can freak Jason out is okay in my book.
Well, I'm looking at it now. So it debuted in '86. So I was 12. So I mean, I was into I don't know. I was into like horror stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, it just didn't. But that being said, I feel like I watched every episode. Like. I'm definitely like not unfamiliar with it. So, but I know it meant a lot to you.
Yeah, it still does. Yes,
I know. I remember that C2E2 when the movie came out right on Netflix, right?
Yep. Vince and I chilling.
You guys just cozied up in bed together, just watching the movie.
That was a highlight of the weekend.
My Mario and I were like, "Are we going to go out? Are we going to do this?" Or?
Any chance that David and I could cozy up is a good
Seriously. Seriously.
What else we got?
Well, Vince, I did tell you that there were 2 Fantagraphics things on my list.
I know what the other one is.
Yes, I saved the best for last. Search and listen. Anytime I'm talking about a manga, it's special because you read a lot more manga than Dap and I combined. I would be stunned if and when you both read this, you both won't love it. And I'm also going to say before I talk about it that it's going to be hard for this not to be my favorite manga of the year. Because I read fewer manga, obviously, but like I probably read 4 or 5. No, I read like 4 or 5 a year, right?
I was going to say that was like a stack of 3.
I mean, listen, again, like that's more than like if we're gonna. There's plenty of categories you read less of than that, right? I mean, I'm saying like I try and read 4 or 5 versions.
No, I'm just teasing.
But that being said, this is Search and Destroy Volume 1. There are going to be 3 volumes. As you noted, I think the second's already been solicited.
Right.
The third should be probably in a month or 2. But it is written and drawn by Atsushi Kaneko. He is a longtime manga creator. A lot of his stuff has actually not made it here in English translation. His most well-known work is Bambi and Her Pink Gun. I haven't read it because it's never been translated here. He's done stuff like Soil and Wet Moon. So what is Search and Destroy? Well, it is an adaptation of a Tezuka comic. As I said when we were doing the intros, I said I was Dororo. This is a reinterpretation of Dororo. We obviously talked about we've talked about other Tezuka reimaginings, right, in recent months. So this is probably a lesser known one, but I think no less in quality. This was originally published in 2018 in Japan, and it's finally making its way over here. It was actually serialized in Tezukami, which, speaking of Magnetic put out that beautiful 2-volume hardcover collection of Tezukami recently, which I talked about on the show. Now, that was a curated collection, so it was only European artists' contributions to Tezukami. So the stuff that's in Search and Destroy was not in the volumes of Tezukami that I talked about or got to read. But yeah, so this is an adaptation of Dororo. For those that don't know, that was one of Tezuka's works from the 1960s. The premise of Tezuka's original was that Dororo was like a little, like a street imp, like a street kid, like an Oliver Twist type, who was like stealing to live type of thing, and they befriend basically like a badass killer named Hayukimaru, and the premise of that was that Hayukimaru was her father made a deal with like the dark gods when she was born, where they took like all of her appendages, her limbs, her organs, and she in Dororo she goes about going through feudal Japan and defeating these demons who have her organs and gets them back one by one. So this comic, Search and Destroy, is a take on that, but it is, wait for it, post-apocalyptic, which is my stilo, and the premise is, but it's basically the same premise. We meet a little kid who's running from stealing something, cute little kid. They don't actually call them. I think it's a little girl. They in the first volume they don't say one way or the other, but for the sake of it, we'll say it's it's Dororo or some derivation of that. And she comes across Hayaku, which is a shortened version of Hayukimaru, but and Hayaku is this badass killer cyborg. Now in this world, it's a future world. In this world, there has been the evolution of cyborgs. They call them creatures, short for like creatures. And in this world, like now, it's pretty much even Steven. There are humans called Whooms. There are creatures called Creatures. They kind of interact. It's like Blade Runner. Well, it's more than Blade Runner because there's lots of them, and they basically live equally with humans. They're all mixed together. But they kind of have like a racial sort of like divide. They don't really like each other type of a thing. But as we come to find out in this first volume, Hayaku is much like in the original. She was basically taken apart. All of her eyes, her organs, her limbs were all removed and sold as pieces to these creatures who like to have human organs because it helps enhance their quality of life. So like there's a really like disgusting obese cyborg who has a human tongue, and that lets him enjoy eating food more. There's a trained assassin who's got human eyes, which lets him see in a way that creatures wouldn't otherwise. But Hayaku is on a blood death mission to use her new cybernetic killing machine body to find all of these creatures that have her organs and kill them and take her organs back. So it's the same story, by design. It's a reimagination of it. But man, oh man, is the art incredible. Now, Kaneko has said many times that he is very much inspired by, and we'll talk about a little creative continuity here, Charles Burns, one of his major influences, as well as Paul Pope. Yep, as Paul Pope, David Lynch, Dan Clowes. These are all people that he professes to be inspired by. I think visually, the book looks more like a Paul Pope book than it does, say, like a Burns book. But it's hyper-violent, super cool character designs. And in the first volume, which is, again, one of 3, we get to know all this. We get to see Hayaku absolutely, take apart a number of these superpowered creatures and get her organs back. And at the the apex of the book, she explains to the Dororo character that, what's happened and why she's on this quest, and that she has 48 organs to get back. So, which sets obviously up the second and third volume. So it's phenomenal. Now, the only weird thing about it, like the only nit, and I want people to know this if they listen and want to order it, is that it's incredibly small, like the form factor. And not quite sure why, maybe cost, but it's 5 by 7. So it's smaller than even like a traditional manga digest that we might buy in a comic store. Like it's really tiny. And again, I don't know why. It didn't affect my enjoyment of it, but I would love a hardcover, like full-size hardcover collection of this, where you see the art in its bigger form. But beyond that, and again, it makes it less expensive. I think it's only $15 for a couple hundred pages of story, so maybe that's why they did it that way. It's just amazing, man, and like kudos to Fantagraphics, because I don't really think of Fanta as putting out like hyper-violent manga action comics,
well,
right?
See,
like,
that's the thing that mystified me when I saw this was coming out from Fantagraphics. I'm like, it has to be the Tezuka angle.
Yeah, I'm
because
sure,
this would Search and Destroy would be at home at virtually any manga publisher.
Yeah, like Viz, right? Or,
yeah.
I mean,
but I'm guessing Gary was like, "Oh, it's a Tezuka thing. Yeah, all right, let's try it." Because
it's definitely out of the ordinary for him for sure. Like which is why maybe some even like manga fans didn't even notice it if they're not like prone to digging into the American comic solicits as much. But
right.
But man, oh man, it was just, it was just nonstop badass action, like just gory, and the character's design of Hayuka, she's got these like, these like metal, like almost like half moon shaped feet that she can run real fast, and she's got like the Wolverine style, like super sharp blade hands, and it's just obviously she's literally a killing machine. So I'm aboard, man. I can't wait for volumes 2 and 3. I don't know if we'll ever get a full-on collection in a larger size. I sure hope we do. But man, it's awesome stuff. It's just like hyper action, kick-ass stuff, which again is just not, as much as I love Fantagraphics, I don't think of Fantagraphics in that way. So
right. It's definitely an anomaly in their
for sure, dude.
But
sure.
Gary's a businessman, right?
Yeah.
And he knows that manga is selling. So it kind of makes sense on some level that.
And it's really interesting because, like I said, Magnetic putting out Tezukami, it's like, I wonder if they didn't have the rights to this, like if there's a rights issue, because again, like this wasn't in the Tezukami collection, so even though this was published in Tezukami, so whatever, but I'm glad it's here, and I can't wait for the other 2 volumes for sure.
Yeah, it looks great. And like I said, I have the first volume, I just haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Mm-hmm.
Embarrassment of riches.
It do be like that sometimes.
Nah, I just got so much stuff. Like, what do you read?
All of it.
It's true. But people do need to work and sleep.
Or go on vacations for 2 weeks.
Yeah, this is true.
And not bring any comics.
Yeah.
Nah, not happening.
Dear God.
But anyway. Let's see. Oh, I have something else.
And what would that be?
I'm not going to get deep into this because why repeat myself? But I read the new Junji Ito collection.
Oh.
Which one?
This one's called Alley.
Oh, Alley, yeah. No, I haven't read it. I have it, but I haven't read it yet.
I'm not going to get into the stories. Why bother, right? How many times can you say Junji Ito is a master, and the art is grotesquely beautiful. But as I'm going through this book, it didn't dawn on me, but it became more clear that I think at his core, like, I like to cite Kirkman as a guy who seemingly enjoys mangling his darlings. Like if you've ever read a Robert Kirkman book, especially Invincible and Walking Dead, he seems to take some kind of joy into putting his beloved characters through their paces, and in many cases, bodily and physical and mental harm, right? But Kirkman is a piker when it comes to Ito. I think Junji Ito, at his core, is a diabolical sadist. Because to a character, all of them are manipulated in ridiculous ways in his books. And this is, again, this is another anthology, so I think there's like 10 stories in it. But all of the main characters are either manipulated by something, whether it's another person or another, let's just say, force or something from without, that they have no defense. Or the characters are manipulated by something else. It seems that in the Junji Ito universe, nobody really has control over their own lives.
It's fair. Yeah, it's good.
And it's crazy to me that to a story, there's very little light in the Junji Ito world, and that's, I guess that's a given, right? That's pretty obvious. But either the characters will expire within the stories, or they're traumatized. It's very Lovecraftian. They're traumatized on a level that changes them irrevocably forever, or they just segue into madness. Like, there's no happy endings in Ito's world, and I'm like, I would love to have a sit-down conversation, because I hear he's a very nice guy. But I'm wondering where in his life came the trauma that led to
Well, he's like Stephen King, right? Like, Stephen King's like a pretty boring, like, regular dude, right? But, like, you think, like, how do you have those many dark thoughts for, you know?
Right. He's very sadistic. He mangles the fuck out of all of his characters.
Yeah.
And it's going into it, it's very much expected. Like, I don't ever go into a Junji Ito story expecting a happy resolution or even a fair resolution. It would
be a trip if he did like a romance comic, like out of nowhere, just like a straight
right, yeah. But I mean, there's a story in here. What is the name of it? It is called Descent, and it's the second story in this collection. And I have a profound fear of heights. I never ever take the window seat on a plane. My wife loves to look out the window, so therefore it's always open. And I can, being in the seat next to her, I can see out the friggin' window, and it causes me not a good amount of discomfort, but it's not very pleasant for me. Let's just say that. But anyway, there's a story in this thing called Descent. Is it Descent? Yeah. Where after a rash of suicides, so it's a feel good opener on this story. People start floating, right? And this one guy's girlfriend gets caught in a tree. She tried to commit suicide. She gets caught in a tree, so therefore she doesn't ascend. She's stopped. So he takes her, and she's put in a hospital, and she's floating in the hospital, and she's up against the ceiling. Turns out, like, all of these people have ascended, and then what goes up must come down. They fall. And so you have people falling out of the sky. And it is one of the most horrific things I've ever read. Like, to float up into the sky to a point where you die because, oxygen disappears at a certain point. And then you just plummet towards the earth. And he's trying to stop her from floating. But it's Junji Ito, so it doesn't end well. But I'm thinking, like, how smart is it to take something that a good amount of us have, fear of heights, and to just create this little itsy bitsy story that resonates with the people that are afraid of heights. And it's just like this little offhand thing, but holy shit. I had to stop reading it at a point because there's I won't spoil it. There's a full page that I was like, stop. It's too much. Like just
wow, for you to say that, Jesus.
But I have like I said, I have a fear of heights.
Yeah.
And that's what he preys upon. But all of these stories, like the premise is very, very simple. A guy that wants to marry a girl, and the father says no way, right? But Ito takes it to a place that is not only unexpected, but it is like extremely disturbing. There's a bunch of kids that have like a club for smokers. Okay. But that's just the beginning. There's a story called Mold, in which a man's home is infested with mold. I won't get into it, but it's not happy. It does not end well. And I think it takes a really unique skill to be able to take something as simple as mold and turn it into a story that will shake you to your core, right? That's the magic of Junji Ito, I think. But I guess the whole point of this whole thing is that the man at heart is sadistic. He's a sadist. He loves to just devour his creations, and we're along for the ride. So whatever. The last story is called Ice Cream Bus, and it's as simple as a little. We all have had the Tasty Freeze guy that comes through the neighborhood. You don't see him first. You hear the jingle, ding, 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 ding. And you're like, holy shit! It's the Tasty Freeze guy, and that's what this story's about. But no, it goes far beyond that. Like, and this series, this story is notable because I think it contains. There's a splash page. And again, I won't spoil it, but it is it contained within this splash page. There's a mere fraction of it that I think is one of the most horrific things that Junji Ito has drawn.
Yeah.
Ever. And again, no description necessary. Read the damn story. You'll know it when you get to it. It is soul shattering.
Damn.
Yes.
Big words you're using here.
No, it is far beyond.
I might have to move this up to my stack here.
Yeah, it is insane. And I was like, this man. I thought to myself, this man just impacted me on a like a primal level with nothing more than black marks and a little bit of gray. And it's a thing that I don't think I'll ever forget. And it's not even the main focus of the panel. It's almost an offhand gesture to the side. But when you take into account the ramifications of what's going on in the actual panel, it'll break you. It's insane. But again, it's no secret that I think Junji Ito is an absolute master, and I relish every book that I consume. But this one,
same.
Yeah, this one was. There's a range between some of his best stories and some of his not so effective stories, but even the ones that really aren't like as effective as the highs are still pretty disturbing, right? I don't think he ever strays far from at least a baseline of holy shit, that's disturbing. Like that, sure, yeah. That's standard Ito. But some of them are like massively impactful, and other ones are just like, that's not bad. That's pretty good. That's just disgusting. So, it's Junji Ito's Alley from Viz. It's $25, but a lot cheaper if you get it in the places that sell it for less.
Nice.
Love it. What else?
Apps like I just read Grendel. That's all I read this week.
No. So
I was busy, y'all. I had a bum knee. Had to help.
I do have the bum knee, and I've got all that family fucking drama that we're not going to bore the listeners with, but I did get some alone time. And,
oh yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. No, but I also speaking of second issues, the second issue of DC's event for the summer, absolutely.
There we go. Yes, speak on it.
It is. It's. I wonder, and it could just be the breakneck pace of the story, but I'm looking at this and I'm wondering if, and even if these are shortcuts, it's still gorgeous work. But I'm wondering if Mora is finding that line where he can do as many books as possible and still do the work that makes it look like it's more and not like he's just doing breakdowns. We're not there yet because it still looks phenomenal. His images of Ollie, his images of Dreamer, they look fantastic. But there were a couple of panels where I'm like, okay, this I don't know if this is the colorist, I don't, but our heroes are definitely in rough shape. They're in it, dude. They all escaped to the Fortress of Solitude for some safety, and it's not it ain't going well for them. And there's a touching moment with Cal and John, touching in more ways than one. It is not a this was and credit to Wade, because I really thought they might have a chance with their plan, and no, Waller is a she is very tactical. She's very strategic. She knows what she is doing. There are parts. There are moments where she actually, she's not trying to harm civilians. She's trying to keep the normies out of harm's way. So there are some there's some humanity still there, but that still doesn't mean she's a good person, because when she does want something, she's going to push, and there's a moment where it looks like there's a moment with John and Superman where there's that glimmer of hope with our heroes, but Waller's going to be Waller, so it doesn't go the way we were all kind of hoping for. Again, this is only the second issue into this event, but it's absolutely amazing. The last page may give readers a glimpse of some more hope, but maybe things aren't exactly what they seem. There's Plastic Man. Mm-hmm. When the Amazos come around and Plastic Man is there and they're zapping powers, my man, he is his arm basically snaps almost clean off because he can't bend anymore. It's pretty heavy. But I mean, we get some upgraded Justice League tactical suits. There was a really great moment with that may have been their ace in the hole with the bottled city of Kandor. This was and holy shit, I could not believe Wade pulled this dude out, because months ago, definitely last year at this point, during the new comic book day release list, there was an origin story for Airwave, and fucking Airwave is in this issue. Yep. And Mr. Terrific,
he's like, "Oh, I can't wait to read it later."
He's like, "Yeah, tell me all about your stats, bro." This was a fantastic issue. The colors are popping because of all the explosions and the action. It's a fantastic issue. This is the this is the issue you read that really kind of, if you're a reader like me who gets kind of just all caught up in it, this is the issue that you've kind of like, it has to get better from here. This is the low point. I need to be picked up, so I know that we gotta this is as low as we can get, and because I can't see us getting any lower. And
I need one more round, dude. I need one more round. One more round of fucking...
Well, I mean, considering what's going to happen next issue, I don't think it's going to go as well for our heroes there. But yeah, this is fantastic. I'm not saying I had low expectations because it's an event. Obviously, the creative team involved knows what they're doing, so I have absolute faith in them. But I'll say 2 issues in, this story is way better than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, dude, 100% co-sign on all of it. Like, I can't, putting aside like the DC versus vampires, which again is more like a blood hunt thing, where it's like it's kind of standalone, and it's in Elseworlds, like, which I really enjoy. But like, in terms of the DC events that are supposed to be sea-changing and massive, like, I haven't cared about a DC event in a minute. I mean, it's been a long time, and much like you, I didn't go into this. Which I think is fortunate. I had no expectations of it being particularly good because I didn't really love the Titans run up to this. You know, I mean, obviously DC really made a concerted effort to try and make the Titans the new premier alpha team while the Justice League was gone. And I'm imagining for some it worked, but for me it didn't. So I was like, okay, we'll see. But like you said, it was Wade. You know, it was more. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, you know, for what they've been giving us the last few years with World's Finest, like, it's going to be, like, we know the floor is high. But I thought this issue was, I mean, so often with events, and I would even throw Bloodhunt into this, like, the second issue can feel a little bit like transitional, you know, like, you're like, okay, we're kind of, this wasn't that. And it's funny because, like, everything you talked about I really enjoyed, but, like, my favorite part of the issue you didn't even mention, which is that, Vince, get ready for it. I hope you're on the edge of your seat. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, all the heroes that are remaining, and they make it clear that over 80% of the heroes in the DCU are captured and depowered at this point. So you've got this skeleton crew of the best of the best that did manage to make it up to the Fortress of Solitude, and they're kind of talking about what to do, and they haven't been together as a team in a long time because of prior events, and they're just fucking bitching at each other about who should be in charge. You know, like, well, I should be in charge, I should be in charge, and add a fucking and basically, like, who does, but, like, it makes so much sense. Dick Grayson is like, he doesn't, like, slap him down. He just stands up and fucking starts going on, giving a speech about what they got to do and why they got to do it. And, like, and there's a moment where Batman's like, "That's my boy," and I'm like, "Oh shit, that's your boy. That's right." He's the one. He's the G. He's the centerpiece of the DCU. Like, he has been forever. Like, and I just was like, this is the shit. And I mean, I presume they're setting this. I mean, listen, this is all very much a setup to. We know we're going to get a Justice League. We already know we're getting a Justice League reboot. You know, after all this is done, I presume Dick is going to be the head of the Justice League. I mean, that's my presumption, which I'm here for. But either way, like, this, I was, like, marking out at that speech. You know, it was like a good, like, wrestling promo. I'm like, yeah, you fucking tell him, dude. But then the other thing I loved, which you alluded to, is that Dick is like, all right, Batman, you're going to go do this, and Superman, you're going to go do this, and, like, and everyone was like, oh, bet, like, yeah, that makes sense, and it's all very calculated and logical, and it's like, okay, we have and it, like, sets you up, like, okay, these heroes are going, this is how they're going to get this is going to how they're going to get the world back, like, they have marching orders now. But nah, son, like you said, like fucking, they roll the triumvirate of evil, and all the Amazos roll up through this Fortress of Solitude and just take care of business, and it's like, oh, like, oh no, like, oh no, like no, the plan is, it sounds great on paper, but it's Amanda Waller's 8 steps ahead of y'all, like, nah, like, and I'm like, oh shit. So I thought it was great, man. Like again, of course, listen, the conceit of any Marvel or DC event is that it's so hard, if you've read a million of them, like we have, to feel like in the moment, because we know by definition everything is going to get put back at the end, and these are almost editorial mechanisms such that they can like get us to the next status quo, which they already have planned, which will then lead to a bunch of new titles. Like, so we know that's the ultimate goal of these things, but to DC's credit with this, I mean, even though we know that's the point, I was marking out. So I think it's off to a great start. You know, obviously we have a couple more issues left. Who's to say if they stick the landing? But I just think this is like everything I would want in an event, you know, and I'm sure it helps to your point that we didn't have high expectations going in, or didn't like have undue expectations, but yeah, absolutely. I really do think Wade is having I mean, how many lives has he had? But he's having another renaissance. Because, I feel like he's had moments where he's been at the peak. Like, he's been one of the key writers of Big Two stuff, and then he fades away or does his own thing. And like, he's not a young guy anymore. He's probably in his 60s, right? Like, I would say.
Yeah.
And yet, like, I think he's been the best writer at DC again for the last few years. Or at least one of them. I mean, like certainly one of them, like, up there with, like, Tom. And, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, man, like, Wade is, like, we're going to look back on Wade's career, and as much as, he may be a quirky dude personality-wise and stuff, like, I think he's probably, like, even though I think he's a household name among comics fans, he's underappreciated. Like, I think this run is kind of like, Dap, you'll appreciate, this is like a, like Bryan Danielson at AEW. Like, it's like, he didn't need this to be a Hall of Famer, but the fact that he has another run of great performance kind of like cements it. And I think Wade is putting together, like, not that he needed it, but he's putting together another run at the top of superhero comics, which make him one of the best superhero comic writers ever.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I was thinking about it, and at any point, like, he could have been done with comics, and we'd have 100%. Plenty of runs where he would be like,
well, that's what I'm saying. He's already a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Already
but the fact, like you could point almost every decade, there's something that Mark Waid's done where you're like, damn, that's, man, Mark Wade is it. And it's weird because he does have that more of that old school, old character mentality where he's like, I'm pulling these dudes out from, like, nobody's seen this guy since 1978, and it's just like, I can absolutely respect that. He's a writer who is using characters and kind of and even maybe revisiting stories that were out or hot when he was reading, not even writing comics, and he's kind of like almost that bridge between the old school and writing new stories for today with the modern takes on older characters. And I wouldn't want them to be to weigh him down with like, oh, you're the flagship. We're attaching any ideas you want to think about, we'll just trail off of and you write the ship. And it's like he's just telling stories that like I said, I mean, I was happy with World's Finest, but the fact that what he was doing there led to things like this, I didn't see it coming, but it's been a hell of a ride. And even if Wade and Moore wanted to phone it in, like, I think even if they were whiffing, their bad days are still better than some teams' great days.
Yeah, co-sign with that, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
I'm not mad at this issue at all. I'm not mad at. Absolutely, Dick Grayson is DC's anchor being. There was just absolutely, it was perfect because you've got Batman, you've got Mr. Terrific, and they're gonna swing dicks about who should be in charge, who has more experience, who's this, who's that, and then
they basically call Superman dumb, which I love. Like, you're not the best strategist. You're not the best strategist, dude. I'm like, oh damn, it's called a dumb fucking tank. You're a tank, bro.
Well, we need a Planet Moves. We'll call you, but for now, let the big brains talk. But and then you've got Nightwing, who's just like, hey, y'all gotta allow me to introduce myself. So it was just, it was a fantastic moment.
Yeah, Wonder Woman being like, we should just go kill them. Like, let's just kill everybody. Like, we're like, fucking warriors. Like, let's be warriors.
I'm still a little bloodthirsty from the Max Lord thing, but
I love it, dude.
It's a fantastic issue. This is a lot of fun.
You know what I can't wait for, Dap? I can't wait for, like, oh god, when we're doing this and like it's gonna be like EOC episode like 1700. We're gonna be like, it's gonna be like, and Vince is gonna be like, yo, I
got the deluxe edition of this.
Absolute Power. Let me tell you all about it. It was fucking great. You're not gonna believe it. Fucking Dick Grayson makes this speech. Candor's in it. Can you believe that shit? There's a Mazos that have everybody's powers. It's crazy. Vince must be pooping.
It's the Dark Knight's death metal of 2310.
Don't hold your breath. But I'm glad you're enjoying it. There you go. I was going to use emotional damage, but for some reason it's locked.
Ooh.
Because you already used it?
Maybe
you already used it too much.
I don't know.
Emotional damage.
So there you go. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for being here with us one more time around. We hope you stick with it because we'll be back next week with a whole bunch of stuff. Remember, if you want to get your books cheaply, where do you go? CheapGraphicNovels.com.
CheapGraphicNovels.com.
Right on the tip of everybody's tongue. CheapGraphicNovels.com. Manga, OGNs, trade paperbacks, all that stuff for omnibus editions for like a fraction of what everybody else is selling them for. Place an order, reply, 11 o'clock comics sent me, free shipping on your next order. Easy peasy. Also the Patreon. Patreon.com/11 o'clock comics. A whole bunch of stuff going on. $5 gets you a bonus episode. $10 gets you a bonus episode plus the Slack. That's where it's all happening. And if you would be so kind, leave us a review. Doesn't matter where you
iTunes, Spotify,
all
wherever. Yeah, absolutely. Wherever you
SoundCloud, where you just wherever.
Are we on SoundCloud?
No, I'm kidding.
So, in your travels, I have two things. One is fast, one may not be. I wasn't very optimistic when they only announced this return to EC Comics.
Yes, you were not very cautiously. You were reluctant, but
yes.
You weren't ruling them. You didn't write it off, but you said, "I'm not expecting it to be good."
Right.
Yeah.
And I read both issues released to date. I read Tales from the Abyss #1 and Cruel Universe #1. And all I can say is, Oni should thank their lucky stars that Matt Kint agreed to be a member of this debacle, because he and artist Kano produce the single story that makes reading any of this worthwhile.
Okay.
It is a great story. Nice. Matt Kint does himself proud. Kano kills it on the art. It's a story called Champion. It's in Cruel Universe #1. It is a great story that comes very close to approximating what it was like to read the old EC comics back in the day. Everything else, forget about it. Yeah. Some of the stories, one in particular, are so predictable, Stevie Wonder could see the ending coming. Yeah. Just not impressed. But Matt Kint did impress me, and Kano. It's a great story.
Naturally.
Yeah, and it's in Cruel Universe #1. But my real In Your Travels is the Desert Island Mystery Mail came, and within it was a copy of Rescue Party, a graphic anthology of COVID lockdown, which was
right.
Yeah, which was edited by Gabe Fowler, the owner of Desert Island. And what he did was, early in the pandemic, he solicited. He said, "Well, hey, let's do something good with this. What I want you to do is, I want you to be optimistic, because we all need something to look forward to,
right?
And produce a 1-page comic with a 9-panel grid that illustrates a utopian world after we survive this moment." And that's what this book contains. 140-ish examples of the strips that he received. The visual styles are all over the place, and that's a very good thing. Some are very realistic. Why, you got this?
No. I'm saying it's a good thing. I agree that anthology should be varied in the way that
it's varied. Yes, it's very varied. Some are very realistic. Some are super abstract. Some stray from the premise. Others stick to the guidelines. But all in all, I think it is a riveting document of just the emotional states we were all in 2020 and the year that followed. I haven't finished it. I don't think it's one of those things you can read all at once, because each of the strips is one page and self-contained. This is a book that you can revisit. You can digest, a bunch of pages and then just, okay, that's about enough, and then come back to it. There's even collage in here. And if you're going to make a beeline to my heart, collage is a very effective way to do it. I just think it's full color, hardcover, magazine sized, thick as hell. It's a great publication. Again, if you are one of those people that ranks stuff, I think this will bubble up to the top of your anthologies for 2024. It's that good. But it's interesting to see how the display of human emotion on display. Some are very optimistic, others not so much. Some focus on the target, others stray wildly. So again, like the visual aspect of this book, the narrative aspect is all over the map. And like we all were at this time, like the future was so uncertain, nobody knew what to expect. For some people, it was a very distressing, very disturbing time. For others, I don't mean to discount, the human lives lost during this period, but I wasn't impacted by COVID very much. Like, no one in my family got sick, extremely sick. So the lockdown was more or less a vacation for me. And I know that's not the case for many people, or the average person. So I look at COVID lockdown as I thought it was I don't want to say a wonderful time, but it was a very unique time, which I don't I didn't mind enduring. But again, I may be in the anomaly. Judging by this book, yes, I am, because there's a lot of the cross section of emotions in this book is varied, extremely, and it benefits from it. So it's called Rescue Party, a graphic anthology of COVID lockdown. It is published by Pantheon, but instigated by Gabe Fowler and Desert Island. It is just a magnificent book. I wholeheartedly recommend it. It's great.
I'm on it. Respect.
Again, I'm not getting paid for this, but if you want to get a nice batch of comics each month, indie comics, unexpected titles and genres and themes and stories, the Desert Island Mystery Mail for $38 a month is not a bad deal. In the back of the book, there are profiles of every creator involved. It goes on for pages and pages and pages, and it's a good way to get exposed to comic making that you may not normally see. So,
right.
Rescue Party, great stuff.
Well said.
Yeah,
Love it. I am not going to go too deep on this, only because I'm pretty sure Vince hasn't caught up. And I know some folks may have felt some kind of way with how Blood Hunt ended, and then leading right into an upcoming event. And unlike that, I think anybody reading Annihilation 2099 knew what was coming, what is coming in the fall, as far as Conquest 2099. But the last couple of issues of this weekly event, issue 3 gives us Red Hulk 2099. Issue 4 was pretty wild. It's Silver Surfer 2099 versus Mephisto. And the Silver Surfer is familiar in name and the fact that the character rides a surfboard. And he's not necessarily a herald of Galactus, but still a herald, if you want to call him that. The fourth issue, the main story is art by Ario Anindito, and it's because of the Silver Surfer's look, the art and color works well here. But the fifth issue is basically just all about Dracula and Dracula 2099, and each of the previous four issues had. The first issue had maybe 3 or 4 or 5 pages, but every issue after that kind of only had a 1-page story, if you want to call it that, of Dracula's serializing the Dracula portion of this event. But the fifth issue is all about Dracula and the planet that he and his captains crashed on and had to deal with that. And that's just all Eaglesham. So it's all just one story for the fifth issue. And it looks great, of course, but Dracula is exactly who you expect him to be. Some pretty funky Easter eggs as far as the names of characters or callbacks to others. It was a really fun weekly event. I think I definitely enjoyed these 5 issues more than the previous, the Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099 5-parter. This was just, I really like Pete Wood's designs for a lot of the characters. I'm sure the collection's been solicited at this point, but yeah, in your travels, if you haven't, check out Annihilation 2099.
Fact. Since we're talking Marvel, I'm going to segue my inner travels by first doing a little commentary on Mr. Tom Breevort, who is the, I believe his title is Marvel Executive Vice President. He's effectively like the chief editor, right? Like the head editor these days. And despite being at Marvel for 30, 40 years, at least 30, he's never been in charge of the X books before. And of course, coming out of Krakoa, the whole big news is like, oh, Tom Breevort's taking over the X group. And listen, we've gotten the first issues of a handful of the flagship titles. They've been fine, but they've been fine in the way that like these comics are always like, it's just they're just average superhero books that aren't going to be remembered in 2 years, much less 5 years, much less 20 years. But where he really chapped my ass this week was, I guess he has a Substack, which I do not subscribe to, but it made its way across the interwebs, where he was taking Q&A, and essentially someone was saying, like, well, what's up with your, what's up with the plans here for what you're doing at the X-Men? Like, it seems like you're going to change some stuff up from Krakoa. And he says, and I quote, "My philosophy boils down to this, Levi." Levi was the person who asked the question. "I don't think that the X-Men should be casual or gleeful killers. While they have certainly been in situations where lethal force was called for and appropriate over the years, I don't think that this should be their default setting. And one of my big complaints about the end of the Krakoa era is how readily and even joyfully some of the X-Men murdered their foes. That's fine for some characters. No one's going to question Wolverine killing a bunch of people, though I do feel even he has certain rules of engagement, which will be honorably try to follow. But seeing Nightcrawler teleport a couple of hapless Orcus goons into deep space and leave them to die just felt wildly out of character and wrong to me. If our heroes are going to be heroes, then they have to be held to a higher standard. We said this a lot back, wait for it, folks. We said this a lot back in Deathlock 30 plus years ago. Fucking Deathlock, that's what he pulled out. You've got to do what's right and not what's easiest. I'm sure they'll have plenty of moral gray area that we can explore, but I do think that the days when the X-Men would casually throw around lethal force and laugh about it are over. And then he says, and this is what really gets me, I can tell you is that I'm far from the only person who felt that all of the X titles during the end of the Krakoa era sloshed together a little bit and all seem to revolve around Krakoa business, as they sort of had to, given the setup, so we're working to try to remedy that. F this clown, dude, because what we've gotten since then And again, it's only like one issue each, so I'm not suggesting that like they're irredeemable or people shouldn't enjoy them if they enjoy them, but like they're milquetoast as fuck. The new books that I've read, and I've read them all so far, are fine, but they're milquetoast. They're just 1960s superhero books, right? Like set up a few heroes, put them against a bad guy, and rinse repeat. And when I was 15, I marked out for that shit. I'm pushing 50. It's like, dude, like, so it's just real depressing to me to hear Breevort basically said like he hated the Krakoa era, and like this is going to be like everything that it wasn't, because like obviously we've all talked about the Krakoa era was, to my mind, like the best the best X-Men comics we've got in a long time. So anyway, with that said, one of the people who was, I mean, we mentioned Hickman a lot, but one of the other major architects of that Krakoa era was Kieron Gillen. And, you know, he stuck around after Hickman left, and I thought his book was phenomenal from start to finish, Immortal X-Men. So Kieron has made a well-anticipated return to creator-owned comics with this week's The Power Fantasy, published at Image Comics. It is Kieron Gillen and Caspar Wijngaard, which I know that we're all fans of his art. And it was awesome. It's the premise, since it's in your travels, I'm not going to get too deep on it, but the premise is as follows. In this world, there are only 6 super-powered beings that basically have powers that are equivalent to like being a nuclear power, meaning that they're so powerful that if they really use their powers, they could destroy the world. And the story that sets up is these 6 beings essentially agreeing, because they realize how powerful they are, to a détente, similar to like the Cold War, where their job is to figure out how they can get along, because if they don't get along, they're going to end the world. And the first issue goes back and forth between 1966 and 1999. We meet a number of the key players. It seems like at least the lead character for now is a gentleman by the name of Etienne Lux. He's essentially a Professor X. He's a incredibly powerful telepath. And, for much of the issue, he seems like he's the moral compass of the book. But then in order to resolve a potentially catastrophic situation with one of the other heroes, or not one of the heroes, one of the other superpowers that's mad at the U.S., at the end basically does something to kind of like even the score, and I won't get into that because it's like a jaw dropper, but it's very clear that like when you're a god, your definition of morality is very different than how we think of it. And I just thought it was wonderful. I think Wijngaard is on his A game, and I'm super stoked to have Gillen back doing his own ideas. So highly, highly recommend The Power Fantasy #1. Image Comics, Kieron Gillen, Caspar Wijngaard, badass.
Co-signed.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of talking heads.
I know you wouldn't like it because it's a lot of talky, but that's Kieron often does that when he's setting up like a new series. It to me this they reminded me a lot of The Wicked and the Divine, which I don't recall you being much of a fan of.
Exactly.
But yeah, but I thought I won't even disagree with you that I think for a first issue it was very talky, and that probably does put some people off. But I guess I have enough faith in Kieron that he'll eventually gets to fucking that I'm here for it.
Wow. While we're on the subject, what did you think of Uncanny X-Men #1?
Like I said, I mean, I thought all of the X books so far were okay. I didn't like hate any of them, but I thought Uncanny X-Men was entirely forgettable. Like it's fine. Like I wasn't like, oh, this is trash, but I didn't come away with it like particularly caring. And I thought there were definitely stuff I thought was corny. Like I thought the whole idea of like tearing down the X Mansion and that like, but then at the same time they're trying to turn it into a prison. Like it just seemed very, very convoluted to me. Like why would they try and retrofit an old mansion that the mutants would know intimately well into a prison? Like I know we're supposed to, because the symbolism. Like, well, that doesn't. It's a mansion in the middle of nowhere in New England. Like nobody ever goes to. Like the whole thing seemed very like, again, like milquetoast. I'm like, okay, like you guys whiteboarded this and you executed it against the whiteboarded story. Cool for you. But I didn't like. I honestly think if you ask me what I thought of it a week from now, I won't remember it.
Right. Given the name on the cover, which was Gail Simone, I anticipated it being far better than it actually was.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, of all the books that were solicited, Gale and Marquez, who are the ones on Uncanny, I was like, oh, I don't know about that, and I didn't read this thinking, oh no, they're gonna have a really great long run. I thought, okay, well they'll get like 12 issues and like they're gonna get 12 issues and then be done with it.
I thought it was a very weird issue. Like, number one, I'm not crazy about the lineup.
No, yeah.
Well, you guys hate Gambit, so yeah.
Well, Gambit and Rogue, like Strike 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, I like Gambit and Rogue, so that's not a problem for me. But I get you.
I thought the fight with the dragon was very strange.
Yes,
that's exactly.
For half of it, you don't even see the dragon.
Between the mansion and then like they fight like an Incan or Mayan like Quetzalcoatl type dragon. It just seemed very like okay, you know. I mean, it just.
But the thing that pissed me off the most, I shouldn't say pissed me off. The thing that deterred me from reading any further was the last page. It's like, oh hi, So here's a bunch of characters that they're gonna throw into the mix, like whatever.
Again, like it depends on like they're the Helians, right? Which does have weight. I mean, in the sense that there is history there, but yeah, like. Again, that's why I said to me it was fine. Like, okay, yeah, the Helians are going to be the villains. Like that makes some sense, right? Because they were White Queen's version of the New Mutants when she was a villain, and
yeah, I get it, but
yeah,
what about this issue challenged you on any level? That was the thing about Hickman's run. There was something intriguing, something challenging about any of the stories that he wrote for that, and the stuff that people took from that. By proxy was challenging as well on their own little levels. But this I thought was just like by the numbers X-Men. It was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's fine, I guess. Like
yeah. But isn't that pretty much the worst thing you could say about a book? It was fine.
I'm conflating Nyx. The Nyx was the Helians. You're talking about the random characters that show up at the end of
right. That's what I'm saying.
I'm already getting confused. Like I'm at the end of, and I guess spoilers, but at the end of Nyx #1, we find out that like their first big bad is going to be the Helians, which makes some sense because it's like the young mutants. But this is when like the heroes we don't know show up and say like
right. Hey, that's what I was talking. But I let you go.
No, I got confused for a second. Yeah,
it's okay.
I will.
I didn't. Again, with Gail Simone, I expect a certain level of competency that I don't think this issue brought to the table. It was just okay, whatever. I thought the art was pretty good.
Yeah, it definitely looked better than I remember Marquez. I have to say, like I do think the art. I was pleasantly surprised by the art because I thought that was going to turn me off.
Right. I would have liked if the narrative was on a par with the art, because I think except for the first half of the dragon fight, which you almost never see the dragon. You see our heroes interacting with parts of the dragon, but you never actually see the dragon. It should have been a much bigger fight, right? Scale. It's an important thing. But I like the way Marquez draws. I think he's got a very eye-friendly style.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
The only thing is, I'll take umbrage with saying the mansion is in New England. Westchester County may not have much, but at least we have
fair enough.
Xavier's mansion. It looks good. The Rogue's narrating wasn't. It almost some of the dialogue came across to me, my ears, a little bit on the Claremonty side, which can be good or bad, but it was way more reminiscent to the Claremont era X-Men than Hickman's, obviously.
Well, yeah, for sure. Well, as we hear, I mean, Breevort wants to roll back to the 60s.
Yeah, seriously.
Good, apparently, so yeah.
I'm sure Roy Thomas is free.
He's looking for characters to take credit for. So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was weird
yes.
start. Yeah. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you so much for being here with us. We hope you come back next time because we'll be doing more of this. In the meantime, get yourself to a comic shop. Go buy something, read something, talk about it online, interact with people. And then when you're done, come back next time because chances are really good we'll be talking about it too.
Consort with us. We like to be consorted with.
Okay. Yeah. This is it's still not letting me do my thing that I wanted to do for David. We got to figure this out. But anyway, so yes, do yourself a favor and say good night.
What worked that time?
No, that's not the special ones. David, those are the built-in ones.
Hi. Good night.
I'm so easily pleased.
Ah, good Lord. Lovely. David. Ah.
Very nice.
Oh, clap.
Very nice. Yes. Come back, people.
Tell them fun with the soundboard, though.
Yeah, I will. Tell them you love them.
Love them.
So it's great to have everybody back, getting the band together.
Yes.
It's hurtful.
That's it for that one.